What's up, comic book fans, and welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me, and today we got another one in my DJ Khaled voice, because this right here is a major key. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today we got Rise of the Powers of X. Now, I don't know how many of y'all have followed the Fall of X, and eventually I'm gonna go back and break down that series. But as I said before, it was pretty much 3/4 of the way over with by the time I started my channel, and I ain't want to start at that point. But these Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of X stories, these I could do, because it feels like these are both the beginning of the end of the Krakoan era and the start of something new. Now, previously we did Fall of the House of X issue number 1, and in that issue, if you can remember, right before Rasputin 4 was supposed to help the rest of the X-Men free Cyclops, she was called away by Charles Xavier, saying that he had a way to fix this whole situation. So ladies and gentlemen, I want all of y'all to keep that in the back of your minds as we go over this here story. But I'm telling y'all now, this story so far can be best described in one word: fire. And with that being said, if you're ready to see the story of Mutant Khan's last stand, let's get it. Now, this story begins 10 years in the future at the Tower of Nimrod on Earth. And as you can see, it looks as if Orcus has won. There's only a handful of mutants left, and we see both Nimrod and Karima Shapender. I hope I pronounced that right, I'm not 100% sure. But the Omega Sentinel. And as you can see, they've taken out Emma Frost, as Nimrod says to Karima. They really thought they could win. And she explains to Nimrod that in the timeline she came from, the mutants did in fact win. Then she tells Nimrod that they burned down the machine firmament with Phoenix fire, and that they destroyed even you, Nimrod. It's why they sent me back. And then she tells him that it would be a mistake to be too confident. But Nimrod is feeling a bit cocky right now because of how much they've been winning. And he's like, nah, bruh, they didn't win, because the Trickster Dominion sent you back. You, the glorious Omega Sentinel, have stopped it. It's as if the Terminator had a happy ending. And in fact, if you think about this, it does kind of have a Skynet feel to it, if I'm being honest. But she then reminds him, don't get too cocky. They did it once, they could do it again. But of course, Nimrod is still feeling confident as he tells her that he thinks it's unlikely that the few that the Hunter Killers miss, Stasis's human resource brigades, turn them in for a chance to suck up, because humans are awful. And FYI, when you hear him say human resource brigade, he doesn't mean it like your typical HR department at a job. Instead, that these humans are a resource. But the Omega Sentinel stands firm, telling Nimrod that we should still worry because life finds a way. That's why we need to handle this thing ASAP. So now she finally has Nimrod a little bit spooked. Now he's a little worried, and he asks her if the mutants can do anything, and she's like, perhaps, but they're running out of time. Then Nimrod says to her, yes, tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow we meet our new god. Tomorrow we become our god. So then we transition over to the Henry Gyrick Memorial Detention Center as we see Gambit and Mystique, as Mystique is trying to contact the professor to tell him that Emma's sacrificial distraction worked. We got it. Although we as the readers don't yet know what it is, but we will soon enough, and I think y'all gonna like it. But then Gambit lets her know that they're too far away from the surface for the professor to hear her. Then he reveals that he's got one final trick up his sleeve that he's learned, that he's gonna blast a way out for her. As she's telling him to go ahead and do it, she also tells him that he was a good son-in-law, that despite everything, he made her daughter Rogue very happy. And he's like, oh wow, now we get sentimental? And he's able to turn his entire body into kinetic energy and straight up launches himself, fully charged, right at the Sentinels, which in turn explodes himself while clearing a way for Mystique to get closer and send out the message to the professor. And as y'all can see now, this story has a lot of self-sacrificing. So Mystique is now able to get the message out to the professor, and the professor lets her know that they got it. Good work. We'll take it from here. You can rest now. And we see now that it's her turn to go bye-bye, as she yells out, "Irene, I'm coming," as more Sentinels ascend down on her. So now we see what's left of the mutants, as we're now at the Broken Sword Station in orbit, as the professor says that they're all dead, but we did it. We've got a location now, Captain. And we see that these X-Men have changed a whole lot, as the professor we now see is Synch, but his body is now ravaged by using his powers. Because if you don't know, Synch's powers allow him to duplicate the powers of anybody else, but it also ages him faster. Then we see that Iron Man is now just an AI imprint of Tony Stark and his final suit, as Stark has long since been dead. Then we see what's left of Kitty Pryde after consuming the Death Seed, and now she's called Shadow Tiger. Then we see that Kamala Khan is now Captain Krakoa, in fact the last captain of the Krakoan age. And finally, Wolverine, who's the OG, still here. So Captain Krakoa tells the professor after getting the information, "At last, let's move." Then we see the Orcus Forge in deep space, and Nimrod, Karima, and Moira are now admiring the world mine that they've built. And Moira is like, "I saw something similar in my sixth life. It was 1,000 years from now, but here now, incredible." And Karima tells her the plan was simple. She brought the knowledge of the tech from the future where the mutants won back to the present where they're unprepared. It took 5 years to build it, and then they aimed it at Mars. She then says that it will attract a Dominion who will bring us into the larger whole. All of our data, part of a perfect machine outside of time and space. "Finally safe," says Moira. "One more sleep until we meet our god," chimes in Nimrod. So Karima says to Moira, "You must have complicated feelings after all your lives finally coming to an end." And Moira's like, "Nah, not at all. All I ever wanted was to be on the winning side. And after 10 lives, I finally am." And that's when Nimrod tells them to shush because a human is coming. Then we see that human is Dr. Stasis. So they tell Stasis that there's important AI business today and the world mine is imminent. What do you want? And then he tells them basically, I know. I'm doing my job. Don't slap me down like Phelan. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is that another X team has been wiped out. But the bad news is that they died having breached certain files, including your personality imprint of Phelan. Now, didn't Phelan know where you were keeping he who must not be named? And this sends Karima into a panic. And now she's yelling to increase security scans on Phobos. Now! Then we move over to Phobos as the team of X-Men are there. And they're like, it's good and silent. If we're quick, we can be in and out before they notice us. They did notice that Sentinel surveillance is increasing and they're looking for disruptions. That this is a lot of computing power. Then Captain Krakoa asks Tony if he can handle it. And the AI Tony goes ahead and tries it and then begins to overload and tells the team to run as he just explodes. Then we go back over to Nimrod and them as they notice an intrusion has been detected on Phobos, and now Moira is nervous. So now Nimrod and Karima bounce up out of there to go handle it, while Nimrod tells Moira to activate the world mine now. And Karima tells Nimrod, that's a huge risk. Even small errors could ruin everything. You don't approach perfection with flaws. And Nimrod's like, man, it's an even bigger risk not to. But then he's like, you were right though. I see they can win, even now. And then we see Moira activating the world mine, while Stasis leaves, telling her that he'll go rally the human resources. Stasis then thanks Vicky Von Doom as he takes off his helmet, saying an absolute transport classic. Then we see him at the vault in Ecuador as he yells out for Cadena, one of the children of the vault. And she asks him if it's time, in which he replies that it is. If you can't beat them, join them. As if we can't beat them. Then we go back over to Phobos and we see the mutants now battling Sentinels with Shadow Tiger absolutely wreaking havoc. Then we see Nimrod analyzing as he says, Death Seed increases mutant endurance for Kate Pride. Improved phasing can be performed at range, even folding space to translocate subjects via phase shifts. Adapting. Align molecular frequency to target. And then he fires on her, neutralizing Shadow Tiger. Then they tell Captain Krakoa to look at Mars. You're too late, as we see World Mine Initiation, World Mine Stable, World Mine Attempting Contact, World Mine Contact Achieved. And then Dominion arrives, as Nimrod says, hello, God. Then we go back over to Dr. Stasis in the vault as he tells Cadena, the AI's plan was clever, technology from 1,000 years in the future, and 10 years to build the future in the present? But AI can't have ideas, not really. All they do is iterate what has been done before. So I took what they brought back from the future and gave it to the supreme intelligence I constructed from humanity's greatest intellects. And in the vault, they've had a lot longer than 10 years to chew over the problem. So the AI are bringing their God here to beg to join it. Instead, let's do the human thing and just kill it. And Cadena is like, so elegant, so beautiful. Activate. Then she asks, is it working? And Stasis replies, everyone will know in 7 minutes. If the sun goes out, we're golden. Then we see their plan coming into fruition on the sun as we see Dominion Attack Vector, penetrating Corona, Chromosphere, Photosphere, Dominion Attack Vector, Supernova initiated, Dominion Attack Vector, Supernova consumed, Dominion Attack Vector charged, Dominion Attack Vector preparing for launch. Then we see Stasis say, golden it is, as Cadena replies to him, a glorious day. Post-humanity is the future. By definition, whatever comes next is post-humanity. We cannot lose. So back on Phobos, Nimrod tells the rest of the X-Men that it's over, that Dominion is here to take them home. Goodbye, meatbags. But then he notices that something's wrong, that the sun is gone. And while he wonders what's happening, Captain Krakoa tells Sync they need a distraction. As Sync then says that he's got one last sync, that this will kill him, so it has to be the right one. And then he looks up and asks Nimrod, remember Apocalypse? I do. Here's a reminder. And then he becomes Apocalypse and absolutely wrecks Nimrod. Yo, I told y'all this was dope. So Captain Krakoa picks up Kate Pride and tells her that the target is 523 meters ahead, and then tells her that they need a shortcut. And she asks Kate if she's able to phase shift one last time. And Kate tells her that she can try. Then Wolverine smirks, saying, Pete would have loved this. The world is ended and we risk everything on one last fastball special. Then Kate hurls him, phasing him into the destination. And once he phases inside, he sees somebody. And then he says, you're alive. Then we see that it's Mr. Sinister. And he replies to Wolverine, yes, I am, Logan. They couldn't risk me having a failsafe. A smart decision, really. Of course I had a failsafe. I'm Mr. Sinister. I'm nothing without my plans. How are we getting out? What's going on? Then Wolverine tells him, there is a failsafe. Then when Sinister realizes what's going down, Wolverine pops those claws and he kills Sinister right then and there. Then we go back to the whole Dominion situation and we see Dominion attack vector fired, infection, consumption. As Nimrod is like, what is happening to our god? So then we transition back over to the vault with Dr. Stasis and Cadena. And I'm sorry y'all if I'm mispronouncing her name, but yeah. So Cadena is like, perfect. All of the Dominion's constituent intelligences are being blanked, reduced to pure processing power. Lose the software, we keep the hardware and upload whatever we wish. And that's when Stasis is like, we, ugly word we, I prefer, I activate. And then he turns on the children of the vault. Then he says, I've been such a good friend to the children of the vault. Helped a lot with Bella's early work making you. Of course, I left the back door. Now all of you children are disabled. Then he says to them, now I know you're terribly advanced. I dare say you'll be back in control in 30 seconds or so. But by then I'll be something more profound than a god. Don't worry. You're part of my family too, children. I'll keep you safe. And then he attaches this machine to his head, and now he can feel it. He's like, yes, yes, yes. No, because it's not working for him. Now he's like, but it worked. The Dominion is an empty husk ready for my mind to take its place. Wait, no, it's being consumed by another Dominion? What? And then in that moment, Rasputin Force shows up and puts her blade right through Stasis. And then she tells someone that he's dead. But then she realizes that she's too late. And then the person talking back with her and tells her to get out of there. The timeline is about to collapse. Then we see Nimrod and Karima approaching the new Dominion. And Nimrod is like, you're not my AI god. And he replies, oh, I am. Once a mortal man, but now I am an AI. I am Enigma. I am your new god. And then he wipes him out, saying, once I was Nathaniel Essex. I created 4 versions of myself to scour reality for ways to become a Dominion. The mutant, the post-human, the arcane, the alien. All roads would lead to me. The plan was helped by the industrious mutant clone, Sinister. He had made an engine that used Moira's gift to reset the timeline whenever he wished. So each of these attempts could happen, be consumed, and then reset. Watching, I ensured he would never remember the timelines when he discovered his peers or their Dominion attempts. As the Moira engine says Sinister is dead, activating failsafe, then he continues. I watched all of this happen, as it must. I exist outside of time and space. I am Enigma, and I cannot be prevented. I am as inevitable as the period at the end of this sentence. You are merely watching how I came to be. You are merely watching how I won. And then that reality ends. Sheesh. Bars. Then we see No Place X, which is another place outside of time and space, as we see Rasputin 4 back there apologizing for failing. And then we see that it's Charles Xavier that she was talking to. And this is our present day Charles. See, I told y'all at the beginning of this to remember the events of the first issue of Fall of the House of X between Rasputin and Xavier. Then he tells her that they've successfully stopped Stasis's ascension 9 times, which is better than what they achieved with the rest of the Essex clones. That They knew it'd likely be impossible to stop the Enigma Dominion from coming into existence, but they had to try. And now they must walk a harder path. Then he asked Cypher about how the X-Men's attack against Orcus are going. And he tells Xavier that they're hitting their primary targets. The Sword Station is deploying. Expect the AI to fight back and escalate. None of them realizes what's really happening. They're fighting for tomorrow. Then he says, we're fighting for forever. Then he tells Rasputin that they can't screw up again like this. And then Charles is like, this ain't like you. I'm gonna assume it's because Krakoa isn't well, but you need to treat Rasputin better. In which Cypher agrees, and then he apologizes to her. Then, as he leaves, he tells them he'll let the rest of them know the bad news. We move to the contingency plan. So now Rasputin wants to know what that contingency is, but Charles doesn't want to tell her because she's the primary field agent. And what if Enigma took her and peeled the truth from her? It's too risky for you to know the final plan. But she's like, nah, bruh. I followed blindly before and I ain't doing it again. If you want me to continue, then I gotta know. So he shows her where they're gonna attack next, and that the whole timeline will fall apart and the Dominion ceases to be. It's cut off at the root. If we kill Moira before her gift activates when she's 13, it all goes away. And Krakoa will never have been and never will be. And that's the end of the issue, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Told y'all, this story right here is bananas. Now y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think's gonna happen. Are they really finna take out this 13-year-old Moira? Will the Jonathan Hickman's House and Powers of X stories be completely wiped out? No more Krakoa? Or do you think something else is gonna happen? Also, if this is the end of the Krakoan era, how does that make y'all feel? And also, as a side note, I was thinking about this earlier when I was reading this. We know that the X-Men are coming to the MCU, which we've kind of already seen parts of it. But do you guys think we'll ever see Krakoa in the MCU? Or will it be the old school mansion as we've seen it before? But yeah, people, I hope y'all enjoying this story. And if you enjoy these videos and want to help a brother out, please do me a favor and drop a like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm out.